It's our role as agtech entrepreneurs to really give those tools to those farmers to be able to change and adopt the next wave of digital technology.
How is AI challenging the future of farming? How are emerging technologies being applied to the agtech sector of Australia? With expertise in AI and big data, join the conversation with an agtech entrepreneur on this episode of Tomorrow's Tech. I'm Ananya Dhyani, joined today by Jerome Leary, an agri-innovator and the managing director of Infarm, a regional Queensland agtech company focused on delivering groundbreaking technologies to farmers. Using state-of-the-art AI and emerging technologies to help farmers save on money and resources, Infarm is empowering farmers across Queensland and the rest of Australia to get on board the digitalization wave. Welcome, Jerome.
Thank you for having me.
Agriculture is known to be a very traditional industry. Are regional farmers accepting of digital innovation, especially where AI is involved?
Listen, I believe that the Australian farmers are some of the best in the world. They're operating in an environment where they have variability in climate. They have some of the poorest soils compared to our North American and European counterparts. They also are operating in an environment where there aren't very many subsidies as compared to the international markets. And they also have the second highest labour cost. So when you take all those things into consideration, the fact that they're able to compete on a global market means that they're actual leaders. And it's a misconception that they're technology adverse, because the reality is that they've actually been developing the tools that have been advancing technologies for the last 200 years here in Australia. And so there's no better example than that than the town of Goondiwindi. They've had 5 to 7 innovations that have changed the agriculture worldwide, which means that, they're a population of 6,000 people, which means 1 in 1,000 people has literally changed agriculture on the global landscape. And there are tons of other regional communities around Queensland and around Australia that have done the same. So, it's our role as agtech entrepreneurs to really give those tools to those farmers to be able to change and adopt the next wave of digital technology.
It's great to learn how technologically advanced the farming community of regional Queensland is. Now, as an agtech entrepreneur yourself, what are the gaps that need to be addressed by founders and innovators seeking to help farmers across Australia?
Listen, I think you need to understand the perspective that farmers are operating within. A typical farmer will only have 35 opportunities to generate income. They'll take over the farm when they're about 30 and they'll retire when they're about 65. Now, most farmers will only generate an income once every year, and they'll only get about 1 in 10 or 2 in 10 opportunities throughout those years to actually make money. So when you're asking farmers to adopt the actual technology, it's critical to understand that you're literally playing with sheep stations and a major part of the income of that farmer for their entire life. Okay. So it's our role as agtech entrepreneurs to demonstrate that value so they can actually adopt the tools. The other thing that I'd say is that if you actually listen to farmers, they will tell you the problems that they're having, and then you can, as an agtech entrepreneur, can find the solution and the technology solution to be able to solve that problem. They'll literally tell you what to make to be market ready.
I agree, Jerome. We definitely need to put the best interest of our farmers first. As an agtech entrepreneur based out in regional Queensland, what are some of the challenges that you face that are different to those entrepreneurs based in the urban cities of Australia?
Being based in the regions means that we have the same problems that our farmers do. So the big one is probably connectivity. We either don't have it or don't have enough of it. But it's also our biggest advantage and our biggest competitive advantage, because we've had to develop a solution, an agtech and big data solution that is completely independent and bypasses the requirement to have internet or the cloud. And so now we've been able to deliver these solutions, and it means that anyone from the farmer that's in the middle of the African Congo or in outback Australia can actually access big data and AI technology. To be a bit more specific, one of our products is we detect weeds. We literally allow the spray rigs to only spray where those weeds are. Now that sensor generates about 6 terabytes of data per day, and we've got to process that in near real time with no cloud, no internet, and no connectivity. And so by doing that, we've literally enabled an entire new technology stack for farmers. The second thing is the ability and the access to capital. It's not necessarily our disadvantage, it's just the advantage of our city and urban counterparts. They are in the networking environments where they can talk to VCs and angel investors and investors in general. So it's a massive advantage that they have, and I reckon they should take that with both hands. But I also know that there are plenty of regional businesses that have over $1 million in top line revenue that are ready to scale. And if investors wanted to actually go and enable these business, it's probably one of the biggest financial opportunities and community opportunities that they could be a part of.
It's fascinating how you've converted your barriers into bridges. Moving forward, how will Infarm's AI and big data solutions assist farmers to harvest sustainable growth in their business?
Our mission at Infarm is to accelerate agricultural technology for global benefit. And so we're going to keep developing those tools that unlock the potential of those farmers. In the immediate future, we're going to be concentrating on our weed detection and our water processing system, which will allow farmers to become more profitable, but also more sustainable. After that, we're going to be developing the tools and more tools for farmers to unlock their capacity. So they're going to be able to teach and train their own artificial intelligence systems to solve their own problems. So whether that be detecting insects that are affecting the crop, looking at crop diseases, but also looking at feral animal and how they might be able to develop plans to solve those problems. So once we unlock those farmers, the world is literally our oyster, and I can't wait to see what they actually develop with the tools that we give them.
It's amazing how advantageous this will be for our farmers in the long run. Now, with years of experience behind you, what would you have done differently when you first started your entrepreneurial venture in the agtech sector?
Listen, I've probably made most of the mistakes that there are to make. But the big one would be to focus, instead of raising the capital to try and go for that big goal, I would have made more incremental steps. The first one would have been to develop the product cheaper, faster, to prove that it worked. It mightn't have been the most scalable solution, but it would have allowed us to demonstrate the proof and really show to the farmers and potentially the investors what we had developed. And so I would go back to trying to develop that solution for as cheap as possible so we can really drive that change. And that's something that we now have taken on board in our company. And we've got an example of a product that we have. It literally cost us $500 to develop. And over the next 6 months, we'll be deploying that over 200,000 hectares. So really taking on those learnings of developing that product cheaply have really changed the way that we actually operate as a business. So for any ag tech entrepreneur, prove that it works, prove that there's actual traction and that you have a business, and then go and find the capital and scale.
Those are some great insights, Jerome, and I'm sure our audience will agree to this. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey viewers, if you want to stay on top of how AI and big data are sowing the seeds of innovation in the agtech sector, join us weekly across Tomorrow's Tech LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram channels. Want to engage with us? Share in the comments below if you know of any innovative regional entrepreneurs who are using AI and big data in their innovations. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching and see you on the next episode of Tomorrow's Tech.
Tomorrow's Tech, presented by 3 Dot Digital.